So good afternoon, all of you. The last session was quite enriching for all of us. We come to know about the carbon recycling management, like initiative towards carbon emissions reduction. In a similar way, we are having this session. In this session, I think we come to know about the different, carbon footprint management, which is quite imperative to today's context. If you see, today's energy is revolving around the energy trilemma. You can say like energy security, clean energy transition, and also like
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. We welcomes you to third annual
energy
session of
uncertainty.
IEW 2025. The show timings for today are from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. Please take care of your belongings. Thank you.
Yeah, this is clean energy security, clean transition, and uncertainty. So, as today's morning, our honorable petroleum minister told that India is going to have the fossil fuel demand by next decade, and we are going to increase the capacity by 20%. So, we have a driver of CCUS, to reduce the carbon footprint in our country, or not only in the country, in the global arena. And so, because I think the CCUS is the present context through which we can decarbonize the whole energy fraternity. So to discuss this topic, I think we have a lot of coveted speakers in the panel because energy transition is very much important along with, going for the fossil fuel demand. So in our panel, we have speakers from the different energy sectors, from refineries, from technology experts, who will be giving insights on the different technology for CCUS, starting from absorptions, these NMR technologies, and also most importantly the net zero targets, which already we are targeting for different petrochemicals and refineries to meet the net zero by some specific dates. So all we come to know from this session. So without spending too much time, I'd like to introduce today's speakers. We have Dr. Prasant Mishra. He is Manager R&D from HPCL. We have Mukul Gupta, Chief Manager Sustainable Development, and Rupal Tyagi, who is a co-speaker from GAIL. Dr. Ilyas Mandal, he is a petrophysicist from British Petroleum, and Mr. Ribi Edding Selton from the TBP. So I would like to call upon Mr. Dr. Prasant Mishra. He will be delivering on the topic next generation absorption technology for decarbonization of the industrial fuel gases. So Dr. Mishra, stage is yours.
So, thank you, Chair, for introducing me, and good afternoon, everyone. So, today I will be discussing a topic which is going to be there in the industry for quite long time, because we know that in spite of energy transition, we are still going to be dependent on fossil fuels, and if we are going to do or we are going to have dependency on fossil fuels, we have to find out the efficient ways of doing the CO2 capture. So my talk will be in this regard. So please allow me to tell few words about my company HPCL. So as we all know that HPCL is a Indian Maharatna CPSE. We are the largest lube marketer in India. We have refining capacity of around 23.2 MMTPA, and we are second largest pipeline network in India. And right side, few statistics are there about our R&D center, which is known as HB Grain R&D Center, located at Bangalore. So we have started our R&D center in 2016, and last 8 years we have developed, or we have progressed very good, and we can see in terms of technology product developed as well as commercialized patent granted, we have more than 236 patent filed, more than 600 patents, and we have around more than 60 technologies and product we have basically which we have developed and commercialized. So this slide, I know that everyone will be aware that last 100 year due to industrialization, a lot of fossil fuel has been consumed, and because of that there has been a lot of CO2 emission. Now it has become very, it has reached to a level where we cannot allow it to happen the way it has happened last century, because we have seen already almost 1 degree Celsius temperature rise in last 100 years, and this is because of the greenhouse effect or associated global warming impacts are there. So in this regard, basically, it becomes paramount to basically do the CO2 capture if we are going to use the fossil fuels. And the method of CO2 capture can be classified in different ways, like post-combustion CO2 capture. In this, basically fuel burns in presence of air, produces energy, and as a byproduct, we get a diluted form of CO2, 10 to 15%, and majority of the component will be nitrogen. Since CO2 concentration is low in this, it becomes little challenging to do the CO2 capture in this kind of feed stream. However, the advantage of this method is there that it fits to most of the energy demand, and it can be retrofitted to any existing plant. Second one is pre-combustion. In this one, basically, first fuel is gasified, it produces CO2 and hydrogen mixture. In this case, CO2 comes relatively at higher partial pressure, so capture is relatively easy, but then it has to suit to the end application requirement also. Third, oxy-combustion is basically kind of like post-combustion only. The only thing is there that instead of burning the fuel in presence of air, we can use oxygen. So byproduct, it produces kind of like more concentrated CO2, which can be easily separated. But in this case, problem is there that we have to first produce air, first we have to produce oxygen from air, and again one more separation unit is required. So right side are basically like distribution of CCS project worldwide as per 2020. So I will be mostly focusing on like kind of like post-combustion CO2 capture application. So in this, there are multiple technologies which are possible, and among them absorption-based technology, which is basically like capturing CO2 in amine solution. This is most kind of like conventional technology, and technically it is well proven. However, the challenge with this technology is there that it is the regeneration of amine. It needs really very high amount of energy, and that's why if we have to really do 100% CO2 capture with the current statistics or with the current energy requirement of absorption process by using amine solution, it may not be feasible. So that's why a lot of research, a lot of efforts are going on to find out alternate method where energy demand can be reduced, and among them can be membrane separation, chemical looping, adsorption, cryogenic distillation, or even biological capture. So I will be mostly focusing on adsorption, because adsorption are the process in which energy demand is very less. So typically in adsorption process, we capture the impurities at slightly higher pressure, and by just reducing the pressure, and it is this capture happens because of very weak van der Waal interaction or slight electrostatic kind of interaction, and by just reducing the pressure, we can regenerate. So instead of putting very high amount of heat, by just pressure reduction or even with very small heating, we can regenerate the adsorbent. So that's why energy efficient, there are probability that it can be more energy efficient, but there are certain challenges which I will be discussing subsequently. So in this slide, I am little giving the details about the adsorption based process, which are basically typically pressure swing adsorption. If we are swinging the pressure, if we are swinging the temperature, it can be called as a TSA, and they are mostly governed by these statistics plot which are shown here, which we tell them adsorption isotherms. So we can see here that this adsorption capacity, it basically varies with respect to the pressure or temperature, and by playing these parameters, we can basically design the process. And now why basically adsorption over absorption, we can see in the right side graph that if we compare the heat capacity of a typical 20 to 40% MEA solution which is used in absorption process with the adsorbent material, here we have shown MOF 177, almost 4 to 5 times more heat capacity is there of the amine solutions. Because of that, it needs more energy. So why basically like we are so much interested, or why it is like adsorption is our area where we want to or we have basically we have done much better with respect to the CO2 capture technology. It has its root from other technology which is basically a same pressure swing adsorption technology for hydrogen purification. So this technology we developed in 2016-15 time, and we commercialized this technology at both our Vizag refinery, and in this slide we can see the photograph of our first commercial H2PSA plant. So here also actually we do kind of CO2 capture, but our focus is mostly here hydrogen purification. So CO2 goes as a byproduct along with some other impurities. So with this background, basically we have gained a lot of knowledge on the important facet of this technology, which are basically adsorbent material, process configuration, and PLC system development and logic sequencing. So with this background, we have basically started working on this CO2 capture adsorption based technology. As a first application, we have taken this H2PSA tail gas, which have CO2 in the concentration of around 60 to 65%. So currently this PSA tail gas, it goes to HU burner and CO2 goes to the atmosphere. So what we are trying to do is, we are going to take this tail gas and we are going to put a two-bed adsorption unit, which one will be in adsorption and one will be regeneration, and there will be no heat requirement. It's only by vacuum regeneration. With this way, we are basically capturing CO2 as one stream and balance mixture of hydrogen CH4CO and CO2. Again, it will be routed to the HU burner. So why we have taken this stream at the beginning? Because this has higher concentration of CO2, and since partial pressure is more, it will be comparatively less challenging to develop the technology, because adsorption based process, why as earlier I mentioned, the challenge is getting enough adsorption capacity and selectivity for a very diluted concentration of CO2. So these are the challenges which are listed here, and basically we have worked upon these challenges. We have done several round of iteration to find out the suitable adsorbent material for this application, and finally we have been successfully able to design and develop the adsorbent material for this application. We can see here that we have very good CO2 adsorption capacity as well as selectivity. In left hand side graph we can see. So it will give us the required purity and recovery for CO2, as well as kinetics also. It has to be fast to make it practically possible, and we can see the kinetics of this material is also less than 90-80 seconds. So that is also in very optimal side. So basically with this material we have developed this CO2 capture technology for capturing CO2 from any SMR H2PSA tail gas, and we are doing right now validation of this technology in our pilot plant. Now if we see the coal-fired power plant, their CO2 concentration is basically only 10 to 15%, not 60 to 65% like this case. So for that case, even the adsorbent material which we have developed for previous application is not basically suitable. For that requirement, basically we are now developing a kind of next generation adsorbent material which are known as metal organic famous. They are basically like combination of organic linker and metal cation. They have a ample amount of opportunity to tune the structure basis our process condition, very high surface area, very high crystallinity, very high bulk density, everything can be achieved. The drawbacks of these materials are there. At this stage they are costly, as well as many of these materials are not stable. So in this regard we have developed few MOS material, and there we can see here in the graph that we are able to increase CO2 capacity by 60 to 80% compared to our conventional adsorbent material. And with this we are basically we have been able to also work upon the stability of these materials, and I can tell that stability of this material, whatever we are developing, is not having any issue. At this stage, challenges are there with respect to the cost of the material, but we are believing that once we go to the toll manufacturing, or we are going to the larger scale, even that issue also can be addressed. So this area basically, along with MOPS, to bring down the cost, we are basically trying to make the composite of these metals with carbon or with kind of zeolite kind of structure, so that we get the desired properties, but at the same time we have the cost at the controllable level. So another way of CO2 capture which can be really of use is basically CO2 capture or purification of raw biogas. So we know that biogas is basically produced from the biomass, and the moment we do CO2 capture from this stream, it becomes kind of like carbon negative streams. So this technology also basically we have developed a dual stage vacuum pressure swing adsorption technology, and we are using very efficient adsorbent material, because of which we are able to achieve CH4 purity of more than 98% with the recovery of 97%, and its waste gas, whatever tail gas we tell, that also comes CO2 as more than 98% purity. So with this technology we have basically validated also, because we have set up a demo plant at our R&D center, and that demo plant is operational for last 2 years. Now this technology we are commercializing at our several CBG plants which are coming under Satat scheme. So this is a few details of our lab, where we do adsorption based research on several adsorption areas like CO2 capture, hydrogen purification. So we have a 12-bed PSA pilot plant, we have high pressure, low pressure volumetric adsorption units, we have from 0.1 millibar to 100 bar measurement capability, gravimetric adsorption measurement unit, we have vapor adsorption analyzer, BT surface analyzer, etc. So we have almost all kind of lab and pilot scale facility available to do the research in adsorption area. So here I would also like to mention that though I have covered here only about CO2 capture and little bit about hydrogen purification, but we have also developed many other adsorption based technology like medical oxygen PSA based plant vapor recovery system, and I can tell that we have capability basically to develop develop any adsorption based technology. So if anyone has interest here and want to communicate with me, most welcome actually. So summary and conclusion, CO2 capture has become necessity due to growing environmental issue and global warming. Adsorption based CO2 capture technology have a great potential over conventional amine absorption process due to cost effectiveness. HPCL has successfully developed several commercial PSA, TSA, VSA based plant, and we have commercialized and gained full expertise in this area. We have state-of-the-art research facility at our R&D center Bengaluru, and our next generation CO2 absorption technology is basically coupled with novel absorption material and along with the process optimization, and also by implementing our BPSA technology for CO2 capture from biogas, that also works towards CO2 capture. Yeah, thank you for patience listening.
Thank you, Dr. Prasan. A big round of applause to the Dr. Prasan Mishra. Actually, it is good to see that especially is doing a lot of initiative towards post-combustion carbon capture, which is very important for sustainable decarbonization. Actually, I think there is a lot of initiatives taken by different organizations, because post-combustion is a very critical aspect, because the low pressure CO2 you need to absorb in a different process like absorption or absorption. Because you are doing a specific work in the absorption, it is very good to see that we are going ahead in the right direction. So a big round of applause to Dr. Prasan Mishra again, please. So next we have Mr. Mukul Gupta. He is a Chief Manager Sustainable Development from GAIL. He is a BE in Environmental Engineering and also a Diploma in the Environment Laws, and have a 15 years of experience in the sustainability and environmental management in GAIL. So I would like to call upon Mr. Mukul Gupta to deliver his speech on the GAIL's journey towards net zero initiatives.
Thank you, Session Chair, for a brief introduction of myself. Good afternoon, everyone. It's an honor to be here today at the India Energy Week, addressing some of the brightest minds shaping the future of energy sector. So let me take you back to 2021, a year that marked a turning point for GAIL. It was during this year that GAIL decided to GAIL announced its installation of PEM-based electrolyzer at Vijaypur in Madhya Pradesh. This wasn't just another project. It was a bold commitment towards towards decarbonization for GAIL. Fast forward to today, and that decision has laid the foundation for something much bigger, accelerating our net zero roadmap from 2040 to 2035. So in this session, I'll take you through GAIL's strategic roadmap and how GAIL is building on that foundation to fast-track decarbonization. Over the next few minutes, I'll take you through GAIL's strategic roadmap, the innovative technologies we are embracing, and the milestones that set us apart on this transformative journey. In 2021, during COP26, India announced its bold net zero targets for 2070, marking a significant steps towards global climate action. Now, this pledge is a part of a collaborative effort of over 190 countries who have committed for decarbonization. As part of this journey, the Indian government is emphasizing the role of natural gas and aiming to enhance its share in the current energy mix from the current 6% to 15% by 2030. Being the cleanest fossil fuel and having lowest GHG emission, natural gas acts as a vital transition fuel. And by increasing the consumption of natural gas, India can significantly decrease its GHG emission and all the while ensuring energy security. In alignment to this vision, GAIL has taken many proactive measures to contribute to this national mission. And in 22-23, GAIL declared its net zero roadmap, and to further, as a further commitment to decarbonization, we have advanced this target from 2040 to 2035 by 100% reduction in scope 1 and scope 2 reduction. I hope we all know what are scope 1, scope 2 and scope 3 emissions, but the point I want to emphasize here is that for an organization like GAIL, understanding the scope and composition and sources of GHG emission is not just a regulatory necessity, it's the foundation of our decarbonization strategy. It helps us identify hotspots and prioritize actions such as optimizing processes, adopting cleaner fuels, and investing in renewable energy. For any decarbonization strategy, a robust emission baseline analysis is important. We have adhered to GHG protocols and have used latest IPCC emission ratings so that our approach, to ensure that our approach aligns with the global best practices, which enhances transparency and credibility to our net zero commitment. As you can see here that our baseline emissions are around 4.57 million tons of CO2 equivalent, and scope 2 emissions are relatively small as compared to scope 1 emissions over the last 3 years. So initially, GAIL has set its net zero target for 2040. To push the boundaries further, we again conducted a comprehensive analysis of our roadmap to identify the areas where the timelines could be advanced. During analysis, we identified that by optimizing our strategies and executing multiple projects simultaneously, we could accelerate this roadmap by 5 years, that is from 2040 to 2035. This slide shows the revised roadmap, the revised net zero roadmap of GAIL, which is divided into 3 distinct scenarios: the business as usual scenario, the avoidance scenario, and the net zero scenario. The business as usual scenario highlights the emission impacts if no major intervention is taken towards shifting to more sustainable practices. In the avoidance scenario, it is considered that all the new and expansion projects shall be net zero by design, and so that the baseline emission does not increase further. And for the projects that are close to commissioning and are not following the net zero by design philosophy, their associated emissions have been added to the baseline emissions. As a result, we see a flattening of the emission growth as compared to the business as usual scenario. The ultimate goal is, of course, the net zero scenario, where we aim for a complete balance between GHG emission which are emitted and those are removed from the atmosphere. In this scenario, through a combination of emission reductions, carbon capture, renewable energy integration, and energy efficiency improvement, we will reach a point where our operations produce no carbon emissions. Now I would like to call my colleague Ms. Rupal Tyagi to take the session forward and throw light upon the elements, the main elements of our net zero roadmap. Rupal.
Thank you, sir, and good afternoon, everyone. Now let me take you all through the next part of our presentation. So we are concentrating on mainly three elements: net zero emissions by design, abatement levers, and offsetting. From the very inception of any new development, we are embedding sustainability into the design phase itself. For instance, RE integration, energy efficient technologies, and low carbon materials will be the core consideration in every new project. This proactive approach ensures that our new assets are not only operationally efficient, but will also contribute to lower emissions. Abatement levers are the key actions and technologies that will reduce emissions in our current and future operations. In addition, we will also focus on operational optimization like flaring reduction, energy recovery, and electrification of processes wherever possible. For the unavoidable emissions, we will turn to offsetting, investing in high quality carbon offset projects. These projects may include reforestation or CCS initiatives. So these elements, when combined, create a comprehensive roadmap for GAIL to meet its ambitious net zero goal. This slide outlines the phase-wise implementation of GAIL's net zero roadmap, broken down into three key phases over the next decade. Phase 1 is about taking decisive actions with the technologies that are already established, allowing us to achieve a meaningful emission reduction quickly. And the goal of phase 1 is to basically lay a solid foundation for our long-term net zero ambition. In phase 2, we will continue the implementation of technologies established in phase 1, ensuring that we scale them up across all the business areas of GAIL. And at the same time, we will also start to introduce new solutions that offer even greater potential of emission reduction, such as advanced carbon capture systems, hydrogen integration, and sustainable fuel technologies. In the final phase, the focus shifts towards emerging innovations that are still in the development or early deployment stages. We anticipate that by this time, these technologies will be commercially viable and scalable, allowing us to address the remaining emissions. So this phase-wise approach of GAIL is designed to be progressive and scalable, starting with the established technologies and evolving towards the adoption of emerging innovations. So basically, there are two priority levers in GAIL's strategy to reduce emissions: electrification and renewable energy. Electrification is a game changer when it comes to reducing scope 1 and scope 2 emissions. By transitioning from fossil fuel powered equipments to electricity powered alternatives, we can significantly cut down our direct emissions. This includes electrifying compressors, boilers, and other operational equipment. As we all know, electrification is an industry-wide trend right now, and GAIL is at the forefront of integrating this into its operation to decarbonize its value chain. We are already electrifying one of our HVJ compressor drive, which is of 1.66 megawatt at Vijaypur in MP. This project is in the final stage of commissioning right now, and based on the performance analysis of this compressor, the electrification of other identified compressors shall be taken up as per the roadmap. And yes, of course, these two levers work hand in hand. Electrification is even more impactful when powered by RE, creating a virtuous cycle of emission reduction. As you can see here, GAIL recently set up 4.3 DPD green hydrogen production plant at Vijaypur in MP. This was inaugurated on 24th May of 2024 by Honorable Secretary MOPNG. The cost of production of green hydrogen for us was somewhere around rupees 318 per kg. Obviously, there were some initial challenges like infrastructure and grid integration, supply chain logistics, connectivity of DI water, etc. But we are actively addressing them and will ensure smooth operations soon. Recently, GAIL set up a 5 TBD CBG plant at Ranchi in Jharkhand. This was inaugurated on 2nd October of 2024 by Honorable Prime Minister himself. The work on various net zero emission projects has already commenced, demonstrating GAIL's commitment towards its net zero journey. Approximately 310 megawatt of renewable energy projects are already in the pipeline and are currently at various stages of implementation. Additionally, as mentioned earlier also, the electrification of 1.6 megawatt compressor drive is under final stage of commissioning. Also, GAIL is collaborating with industry experts and technology providers to accelerate the deployment of these solutions. This slide highlights GAIL's focus on innovative R&D projects aimed at addressing CO2 emissions through cutting-edge technologies. These projects highlight and demonstrate GAIL's leadership in leveraging R&D for sustainable growth and carbon management. Now I would like to request Mukul sir again to take up the last few slides. Over to you, sir.
The benefits of advancing net zero are immense. They deliver economic value, financial strength, and long-term regulatory advantages. Early adoption ensures that GAIL stays ahead of rising energy cost and future-proofing against inflation in resource pricing. Aligning early with the net zero emissions goal positions GAIL to access critical green financing mechanisms. Opportunities include green bonds, carbon credits, and ESG-linked loans, which can provide cost-effective funding for sustainability projects. This also enhances GAIL's reputation among investors and stakeholders focused on sustainable practices. Further, proactively reducing emissions ensures GAIL is well prepared for future carbon tax regulations and compliance requirements. Also, early action minimizes the risk of penalties or additional costs associated with stringent climate policies. Advancing the net zero target comes with significant challenges, including technological limitations, as emerging solutions like CO2 valorization and green hydrogen production are still in nascent stages. Financial constraints pose another hurdle, requiring substantial capital investment for renewable energy projects and carbon reduction technologies. The complex and evolving regulatory landscape add to the difficulty, necessitating compliance with the stringent environmental standards. Additionally, decarbonizing the supply chain demands extensive collaboration with suppliers and contractors, making the transition a complex and resource-intensive effort. Overcoming these challenges requires innovation, strategic planning, and collaborative partnership. Investing in advanced technologies such as CCUS, green hydrogen, and biofuels can accelerate the transition to net zero. Transitioning to a low-carbon economy requires significant investment, and financial instruments like sustainability-linked loans, green bonds, and government incentives play a crucial role. Engagements of vendors and suppliers in emission reduction strategies, including energy-efficient logistics and green procurement, is crucial towards handling of Scope 3 emissions. And lastly, establishing a robust framework to report progress, identify gaps, and continuously improve sustainability performance. The Financial Times has said that decarbonization will involve a wartime level of mobilization, and it is undoubtedly right. Our accelerated journey towards net zero by 2035 reflects our dedication to a cleaner and greener future. Together with technology, policy support, and collective action, we can turn this vision into a reality. GAIL invites all stakeholders, industry leaders, policymakers, technology providers, and communities to join us in this transformative journey. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mukul and Rupal, for your extensive information regarding like accounting the Scope 1 and Scope 2 emission, and also to the roadmap towards achieving net zero by 2035. So actually, as a end users of energy like refineries and upstreams, we are having some targets of individual companies. Like somebody is about 2035, somebody is about 2048. But we can learn from each other how we can move ahead to decarbonize our refinery and downstream industries. So coming ahead, we have our next speaker, Dr. Ilyas Mandal. He is a petrophysicist from British Petroleum. He is a PhD from IIT Bombay. He also holds an MSc Technology in Applied Geology and from IIT Dhanbad. And he is also a member of global CCUS team of BP. So stage is yours, Mr. Vandal.
Thank you so much for the introduction. Well, thank you, all of you for being here. It's a great turnout. My previous speakers they have spoken regarding carbon capture technologies and the strategies. Let's see something related to the subsurface characterization part, specifically for the storage part. The title of my presentation seems to be quite a mouthful, but don't worry, I'm not going to get you through the technical jargons. It's more towards a contextual one. Uh, the focus of today's presentation will be incorporating to understand or to address the energy dilemma which we have right now, how to address that, and in the decarbonization context or for a sustainable energy future, how it's going to happen. So the agenda of today's presentation will follow the motivation, the workflow which we have adopted, and some of its results, and what should be the future outlook and what are the scope we can do in this particular aspect. The global CO2 emissions are increasing day by day, and in a very hand in hand, the global temperature is also increasing. That is not unknown to us. We have already heard a lot about it, and to limit it in a critical threshold, that is 1.5 degrees Celsius. I think it's a distant reality now, because at some places the reports are saying that we have crossed 1.6 degrees Celsius. So it's a very crucial time, I would say. And in that particular context, as a member of a energy industry, I would say the fossil fuels are one of the major contributor of this. So it's kind of our responsibility to upscale, to modernize, to advance our technologies and workflows to understand and to address this situation or this challenge. Coming to the magnifying scale of India's energy mix, well, in India, as like other countries, India is also quite reliant on the fossil fuel usage, at least in the sector of transportation and electricity. And in the very same time, India is also having its green goals, like achieving 500 gigawatt of electricity by 2030 from renewable sources. And there are so many, but one is the most important, that by 2070, India is going to achieve the net zero. But the statistics is not saying that it is going to be a rosy way. I think it's going to be a quite challenge, and this challenge is a kind of opportunity for everyone, I would say. So we are kind of in a paradox. Should we ensure the energy security for the near future utilizing the easy access fossil fuels, or uh, we should be embracing the latest technologies like decarbonizing renewables and all of those things? In this particular context, I would say that this is not an overnight journey. This is a progression. And in this progression, there are four major pillars which are most important. That is, we have to have a very focused strategy, we have to have a very advanced infrastructure, deep expertise, and financial strength. And what IPCC has suggested that to cap the emissions or to cap the global temperature increase, we have to adopt at least three technologies we should be accepting in a very robust manner. First one is the fossil fuel, utilizing the CC, carbon capture and storage, then enhancing the renewables, and to have a greater push towards the nuclear technologies. So why CCUS, or carbon capture storage and hydrogen storage, why these are quite important? Because carbon capture is going to give us that flexibility, that time till we build the reliant, or till we build a very sustainable energy spectrum. And in that energy spectrum, hydrogen is going to give us a very good help because hydrogen is quite safe, and, hydrogen is also having a very good energy density. And in the context of CCUS, you will be surprised to know that the saline aquifers which we have right now in our world, they can accommodate the emissions for the next 200 years. So we have an enormous amount of potential in subsurface for storage. Well, to understand the subsurface storage, we should be definitely mentioning two parameters. One is porosity and another one is the permeability. Porosity is something which is going to give you that how much you can store and how much, at what extent the volume you can store in the subsurface. And in the very same time, permeability is going to give you the idea about the injection efficiency. If you are going to keep on injecting, how far it is going, how it is migrating, and how efficient it is to inject it in subsurface, because at the very same time we have to be very much meticulous about the safety of the injection as well. So in these two contexts, porosity and permeability is going to play a major role, and in addition to that, pore size characterization is going to play a major role, because not all pore sizes are going to give you a very good permeability, or not all pore size is going to give you very good porosity. So to understand how big the pore size, how big the pore scale is, it really matters to have the idea about the complexity, the nature of the wettability of the existing fluids which is there. So in general, if to understand the entire spectrum of this pore size distribution, we use MICP or this kind of very sophisticated instruments like microCTs. But when we are lagging, when we are running out of time, we don't have much time to take the core samples to the lab and do our analysis. We can have some decent idea about the data set which we have and how to apply all this. So in this context, NMR is going to be something which is going to help us a lot. So NMR is nuclear magnetic resonance, but don't worry, I'm not going to take you to the physics class of school. So just to take a mention that NMR is going to sense the hydrogen molecules which is present in the subsurface, and then with the oscillation of the hydrogen molecules, we can figure it out how much volume we have and what the dimension of the pore space. And the current methodology is showing that once we have decent set of core sets, core data and NMR data, we can just integrate both of them, and we can have a very good understanding about the geological changes which we have, the kind of rock type which we have, and from that we can actually infer for a higher degree of understanding about the pore spaces, pore size distributions. So this is a kind of example where the places where I have marked, you can see that the higher amount of pore systems are actually present in that case. We are majorly dominating the macro and mesoporosities. Microporosity dominated spaces are acting as a cap. So the potential storage sites are quite secure in terms of leak proof, because if we just going to keep adding and just keep on injecting, the top part it will act as a seal, and the integrity is quite much good in terms of the pore size distribution at least. So the value addition of our work is we have a lot of data, and the current scenario is that, since, as I have already mentioned, that in our industry time is money, we cannot take the entire subsurface section to a lab and do the analysis. What we can do, we can just do the specific or very sophisticated analysis to the existing data set, and just to mimic the behavior of the subsurface in the reservoir which we have right now. So utilizing the workflow, we are actually solving the real world problem, long-term storage solutions. We are dealing with that as well, and we are actually evaluating the seal integrity, and this is basically de-risking or kind of reducing the uncertainty which we have right now, at least from the subsurface point of view. So if by 3 words I'm going to depict the entire workflow, I would say it is innovative, and not just innovative, it is quite practical as well, because we have the NMR data set in many of our wells, and just to take all the core samples to lab, it is more convenient to analyze the nuclear magnetic data which we have available for different wells, and do the impactful analysis, do the advanced analysis. In this workflow, I have utilized machine learning algorithms to categorize the different data sets and to get a very good integration with the lab data set which we have right now. And this is not just valid in the case of CCUS or carbon storage or hydrogen storage, because this is something which can also be utilized for understanding the oil or gas reserves which we have right now. So it's kind of a win-win situation. If we just use it in oil and gas situation, it is also equally valuable if we just want to take the analogy and apply it in a characterizing the subsurface from maybe carbon capture storage point of view as well. Well, thank you so much for your patience, and I'll be very happy to connect with you if you have any questions after the session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mr. Mandal. It's a quite extensive information regarding the novel technology of NMR-based hydrogen storage and CO2 capture. Normally, actually, we come to know that for the hydrogen storage, we have metal hydrides and type 1, type 2, or type 3 storages. But because the technology are growing and you are investing this type of technologies for hydrogen storage and CO2 capture, I think it will be very beneficial for the downstream industries to utilize for decarbonize the system. So next we have in our session Mr. Rivi Edosekon from the TVP. He is the director of TVP. We would like to welcome you in the stage, sir. So he is a visionary special entrepreneur based in UK. He is one of the pioneer in behind the innovation in maritime trade route system called the Adaptive Intelligent Trade, and also green hydrogen offshore production solution. So his subject is based on the safeguard of the oil and gas sector in the transition towards the green energy, so which is very critical in today's scenario. Sir, today's those stage is yours, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, everybody. Good afternoon. My name is Rabi. As the moderator has introduced me, I'm here today to talk about how we can safeguard the interest of oil and gas sector in energy transition. Because if you look into it, more or less everybody is fighting against the oil and gas sector now, that they're the one poisoning the world and they need to change. So that's what I'm about to show to you, the kind of new innovation TBP is coming up with globally, but I think also India can lead or can champion the project. Now, this what we are offering is actually we call Journey to the Future, where we take everything offshore. So now the storage, the production, and the supply is going to happen offshore. And we are going to start from the oil and gas storage and gradually do hybrid storage, where we do storage and produce hydrogen. And eventually, as the technology advances, then the whole world can now be confident to move into full hydrogen production. So that's our design for the offshore platform. And so that's our solution. Okay. If you look at it, like I said earlier on, at the moment, the global energy shift towards sustainable, the oil and gas are facing a serious pressure. And some of it, you have the anti-fossil fuel policy coming up, although I think that one is changing a bit with the current US president we have, but that might just be for 4 years. Then also we have the green energy, rising green energy advocacy. Tomorrow I'll be delivering a keynote speech on that. Then also we have effort to try and defund oil and gas sector. But also, if you look at it, we have seen the oil and gas sector trying to catch up by maybe buying startup company that is having renewable energy or saying they are going to solar or wind and things like that. But we don't think that's actually sufficient and can sustain the industry. So again, I've listened to some of my colleagues here talking about their different innovation from carbon capturing to solar and wind. But with TBP, we believe that they have their limitation, because if you look at the solar, wind, and hydro, mainly what do? They just provide electricity. And also, they are very limited. Wind is not reliable, solar is not reliable. So let's use India population as an example. Do we want to switch India population off fossil fuel and go to wind and sun? And 1 minute sun will be there, the next minute sun will not be there. And we have to also look at some key industry like transportation, agriculture, maritime, that they really rely on fuel to run. Wind, solar, and hydro cannot deliver such. Then we've had the opportunity for the hydrogen or biofuel, but most of the innovation we have at the moment are land-based. And with the land-based, it's very limited as well, because it means you have to compete with a human being. Like in India, it means that they have to compete with 1.4 billion people. They have to compete with the farmers. They have to actually degrade the environment. So in a way, we are trying to save the environment, but at the same time, we are degrading the environment. And we also see that that's actually a mismatch business opportunity for multi-trillion-dollar oil and gas sector. So how do we do it? That's where now we believe that the oil and gas sector need to actually change their strategy and also position. First of all, they should own the energy transition, not that they should allow other people to dictate how to run the energy transition, because they've got the experience, they've got the finance, and they've got the manpower to actually go like the BP, my colleagues there. They have all what it takes to come up with the next innovation. So we believe that oil and gas should do that. Then economic stability. We can't just say that, oh, we are switching to renewable energy. We have to look at the economic impact in terms of job employment and everything, and even the human existence. So it's very key that the oil and gas still champion that one as well. And we have to balance everything. So can you sustain us? That's why we have been hearing about the energy mix and stuff like that. So I think that's very good. Now I'm introducing TBP Offshore Platform, which is a groundbreaking design. It's very simple, nothing spectacular about it. But one of the things we see is that, okay, then, rather than fighting with the land, let's go on water. And if you look at the land mass coverage of seawater around the world, it's about 70% of the Earth's surface. And that probably, I would say probably about less than 2% is being utilized by us. So we still have a vast amount of sea water available to us. Then again, when we talk about why offshore, especially for eventually where we are moving into hydrogen production, hydrogen has require two main resources to produce hydrogen: water and green energy. What we've been seeing is that most of the people that talk about green hydrogen, they shy away from water. But if you look at it, water, you have to use pure water. And if you have to rely on very scarce fresh water from our river by doing hydro, that's not sustainable. And actually, in the case of India, that cannot power India at all. Then also we talk about the energy resources to split hydrogen through electrolysis. If you look at it, we'll be talking about hydro and, solar and wind. Well, like I said earlier on, solar and wind are not reliable. But when we go offshore, we look at, okay, can we use wave? Wave is also limited. Wind offshore is also limited. But there is another current, energy that is not limited in the ocean. That's the ocean current. Ocean current is actually the global conveyor belt. It moves all the time. So with TBP, we see that, okay, then if we drop our offshore platform anywhere in the world on water, we don't need to go away from that water before we get all our resources. We get the sea water, which can be demineralized for fresh water, and also we get the ocean current as it's moving by our side. So that's the solution we are offering. And these are the key features of the TB, and you can see the size as well. This is like a LNG vessel. So each platform is about 2 kilometers in length. So it's quite sizable. It's bigger than any of the offshore platforms you can ever see at the moment. And one of the key features are the seamless transition from fossil fuel to green energy, green hydrogen integration, scalability, flexible location. The whole idea is that it can be installed anywhere in the world. And also the objective is to safeguard the investment of the oil and gas, preserve the jobs, maintain economic activities, support global climate by integrating renewable energy solutions into the framework. Now this is our approach, which we call phase transition approach from fossil fuel to green fuel. The whole idea is that, okay, let's first of all move the storage of oil and gas offshore. So we free the land, especially the coastline, from unnecessary occupancy. And again, the previous video of the India oil, it shows the transportation of oil and gas for export and co. If it's offshore, it's easy to connect to the major shipping lane. Then gradually, the same platform can be reconfigured, that half of it can now serve to produce hydrogen. In this phase, it's going to be like a testing phase for any company that adopts this solution. So let's say they are producing maybe 1/4 of the platform to produce hydrogen, then they can still keep on doing their oil and gas business. So it doesn't affect their revenue stream. It doesn't, so like the BP now is going to be a good platform to actually complete their R&D design or grade their R&D design or perfect the solution. And eventually, when the whole world, maybe 10 years' time, 5 years' time, the whole world is comfortable with producing hydrogen, we have ample supply of water, ample supply of ocean current, then we can now move to full green hydrogen production plant. And these are also some of the opportunities which more or less I've mentioned earlier. And one of the good things about with the offshore, it actually still protects all the sectorial part of the oil and gas sector, from the upstream to midstream to downstream. And these are the things that wind and solar doesn't do, or hydro. Because with the upstream, that one can be part of the generation of energy electricity. That can also be for hydrogen production. That can be a separate company or a separate sector handling that. Then the midstream, we focus on compressing the hydrogen, maybe into the hydrogen gas, or maybe liquid hydrogen or ammonia, or even we are proposing containerized hydrogen for efficient shipping to the onshore. Then we have the downstream as well. So you still have the trucks conveying the hydrogen straight to the end user, maybe to the filling station and everything. So if you look at it, the entire sector of oil and gas with this approach is still going to be protected. So we are not taking anything from the oil and gas sector. So there is no need for them to to worry about this sector, worry about that sector. The only thing that we require is probably retraining their staff. So that's it. And the benefits, if you look at it, the benefits are so enormous. We have pivotal role in, the oil and gas can play a pivotal role in energy transition. They continue to be relevant in the market, so there is no need for them to be scared that, oh, is this battery guy like Tesla going to take us out of business? And also revenue and job preservation, enhance operational efficiency and environmental stability, because with this, we are not going to really disrupt any land usage. Actually, we are going to save the land as well, because everything is moved offshore. And this is an example of proposition to the India Oil and Gas Company, that this is an opportunity for them for offshore sovereignty and an asset expansion. If you look at it, India has a coastline of about 7,500 kilometers. If you put it together with their territorial waters and exclusive economic zone, is about 2.3 million square kilometers. The land size mass of India is only 3.2 million kilometers. So it means that Indian offshore assets is like 2/3 of the size of the land of India. So in that case, I think there is ample space for all the India energy companies, oil and gas, renewable, to actually move to offshore to produce. And now it's not just on one location, it's going to be across entire coastline. And with that, it means that when we are talking about the energy sufficiency, energy independence, then India can be guaranteed in that, and also moving into the energy transition solution. And the takeaway here is that is a strategic and phased approach that ensures that oil and gas sector remains operational, transitioning its focus to new sustainable products while maintaining leadership and aligning in global sustainability. And my final note is that the transition framework allows the sector to remain vital, to remain a vital contributor to global energy needs, balancing economic and environmental priority. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Ravi, for your offshore platform solution for clean energy transition. As you rightly said, this clean energy business is not, cost effective at this moment, but we have to go side by side with the fossil fuel integration, because decarbonization is, a need of the hour. So with this solution, I think we can go ahead with the clean energy transition along with the fossil fuel integration. Thank you very much for your speech. So we come to the end of this session. During this session, I think we came across diversified topics, starting from Dr. Prasad Mishra regarding the absorption technologies they have in the SPCL. We have net zero initiatives by GAIL, which they are targeting by 2035. And also we have a NMR-based technology, which you are delving in the BP. And also from you regarding the offshore platform solution you have in your, in your company. So a big round of applause to all the speakers today in the panel. And I think we came to know a lot of things from them. And I think we can learn from them also with this innovative solution. And also I'd like to thank all the audience for their patient hearing and the interactions. And thank you all once again. And for any question and answer, you can contact all the speakers in person. Thank you. Thank you very much.